If I'm given opportunity to forgive, I can forgive when somebody commits examination malpractice or steals. When I ask questions, but you have no reason for homosexuality.
But we follow it up to the latest and make sure that evil does not exist in our corner.
The seminary, the minor seminary, stand on a tripodal formation, 3 legs. 1, human formation, spiritual formation, and intellectual formation.
I am a very critical person. I'm very objective. And if this school wasn't worth my trouble, I would have taken my son out since.
The ones that we are not permitted to use, but the child can use through the prescription of the medical doctor, you bring it with the doctor's prescription. We will accept it and make sure that the child takes the drug accordingly.
I want to really appreciate this orientation. I have gone through wards, more than 6 or 7 so far. I have gone into universities now, and I've never been in such a gathering as in before their intakes into the school. So I really commend you people, and I've learned so much. I thought I was good, but hearing you people speak and a whole lot of things I've picked in has also expanded my knowledge.
All right, please, sorry for that hiccup. Good morning once again. Let me start by apologizing for starting behind the 10 o'clock schedule. It was a jam-packed program. The rector had to interview few new parents who were given admission at the last batch. That interview started by 9 and was to end at 10. So that was what dragged us opening dot 10 as we had promised. I will love to start before you have all this with you. We are going to follow the program religiously, except where there are places we have to change and add other issues that has not been listed here. Let me take the first one that you find in the program, tone setting. That tone setting is to explain to you why we are here. Guidance and counseling has been the cornerstone of our existence, even before formal education. Funny enough, it actually started at the University of Ibadan by Reverend sisters who saw the truth that the business of learning is not just something that happens in the classroom. That if a soil is not prepared for planting and you start planting, definitely you won't reap anything. In the past years, we had the attitude of just opening our school station like that with new parents, with new students, and just starting. But since we observed the problems that came during that period, wrote a proposal, the rector approved for the establishment of the counseling center. This exercise is meant not just to welcome you, to present the problems that we know is part of our children's existence as they are coming into a new school system. That's basically why we are here. There are so many problems. What are we talking about? We are talking about children who've been with you ever since they were born, for the past 11 years. They have their breakfasts in the morning, carried to school, and then come back at their lunch, lie down and sleep, do the things they feel like doing. and all of a sudden we extract them from you and take them to another environment where by 5 a.m. they will be demanded to wake up and pass through a lengthy program till 10 p.m. when they're off for the day, and include, among others, character formation and learning. There are bound to be serious effects. Nostalgia, so many of them. In fact, academic backwardness, because that child has been shifted from his comfort zone to another environment. What we are here to discuss is to share with you those things you would expect is going to happen as far as this is concerned. And then to work out modalities to save the child from entering these problems as they go. That is principally why we assemble here. And then secondly, there will be documentation. Files will be given to you to fill the form on top of the files, because we do not want the unnecessary traffic that we used to have during resumption. So you just fill the appropriate information on that file. During resumption, you simply come with his particulars, we slot him in, and we keep it aside and we proceed. That is why we are here. Before we continue, or before we begin today's assembly, I would love to invite my boss director to hand over this assembly to God, so that all our discussions today will be guided by the Holy Spirit. Father Rector, please.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, and your will be done, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. God our Father, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for the gift of families. We thank you for various capacities in which you've chosen us to assist in the growth of humanity. As parents, as teachers, as brothers and sisters, as children. And we thank you for giving us the ability to carry this out, so that we continue to join hands in your creation. Today we gather in preparation for our new students for this seminar, so that the things we will say, the discussions we'll carry out, will be to the greater glory of your name, and for the glory of those children and humanity at large. We make our prayers through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
I would have moved directly to item number 4, because we are going to spend just 2 hours here, or less, except when necessary. We can talk of more. So I would love to invite the rector to take the welcome address, but before then, let me introduce the members, the officials that we have here. The rector of Cardinal Ekandem Seminary, properly, because when he took the opening prayer, I didn't introduce him properly. So I want to introduce him properly. The rector of Cardinal Ekandem Seminary, he is very Reverend Father Ephraim Gilbert Ukwe. Father Ukwe is a priest of the Catholic Church, as you all know. And then the other part of him, which has paved off very well, is that he's an expert in industrial sociology and personnel management. Let me also introduce, immediately sitting beside him, the vice chairman of the PTA of Cardinal Ekandem Seminary, Nkaruan. Nkaruan is an astute journalist and still practicing same. I want also to introduce another personality there, Mr. Michael Imover. Mr. Michael Imover is the Dean of Studies of Cardinal Ekandem Seminary. To introduce, please come up to the high table, Mark. the nurse, the medical officer of this institution, Mrs. Margaret Achibam. And myself, my name is Akwa Ibom. Having done that, I will now invite the rector to present his welcome address before we move into other items that we have here. For the rector, please.
Members of the high table, dear prospective parents, I sincerely welcome you to this all-important session. As Mr. Ebong has just said, the initiative of this came up during the admissions of last academic year when we had students coming because of our own previous experiences. The previous experiences we used to encounter or have was that when students came in here newly, after the first term or 3 weeks, when the parents visited for the first time on a visiting day, there was so much complaint happened to the children. And if the period of visiting was that long, like between about 3 weeks, depending on when we resumed, of course, the children used to go down a bit in weight. Many parents didn't like it. Some of them used to complain about, of the amazing things. Yes, probably some were taken by other students, but most of them were misplaced. So having this in mind, some parents out of inexperience used to react. And some would even make a mistake of taking away those children. And some of them, even during midterm break, they would not return them again. And after about 1 term or so, they would like to come back and lead us, or with us, to take those children back. Because they thought, the children were not taken care of, or the environment was too hard for them. And because of this, they reacted. And some who could persevere to stay for some time, later on enjoy the place. But we also realized that it wasn't, of course, no matter what, when a child leaves his immediate environment, as he has mentioned, he has been staying for about 10 years, 11 years for a new environment. Even if you carry all the food in the house to the new environment, and it happens that he wakes up like 4:45 in the morning and goes on following the exercises of the school and goes back to sleep at 10 p.m. Though between the period from the time he rises in the morning to the time he goes to bed finally in the day, of course there used to be time for rest, but then that used to have physical effect on the children, as much as it would increase his intellectual capacity. So we deemed it necessary that we should have this kind of forum and meeting with parents, prospective parents. And of course, not minding if some of the children are around, so that they know what we talk about. And here on the high table, we have teachers, and of course, the vice chairman of the PTA is a parent. And so that we tell you people what we do and how we go about our formation procedure here, and that you should also cooperate with us, and then not be taken unawares by whatever that you come to see or discover, so that putting our efforts together, the future of the children will be solidly built and prepared. And this is why we gather here, nothing more. So on this note, again, I welcome you and wish that you will enjoy or shall stay here, and whatever interaction that will be carried out will help you to know us more and work together for the good of the children. Thank you very much, and you are welcome.
Thank you, Father. Actually, you've all heard of. I think when I went down to the history of this institution, there was a time we were called Cardinal Ekandem Seminary College, something like that. And the name seminary is strange, and at times carried one danger of a single story. It has just one meaning. Of course, we have the Methodist Episcopal seminaries, we have the Methodist Church seminaries, we have the Catholic seminaries. So we tend to give one definition to the seminary. So when we say seminary, one idea comes to us, that is an ecclesiastical institution. And then we hear Catholic secondary school. It tends to be confusing. So once again, I will invite the rector to take item number 1 and 2 under introduction. The rector will introduce to you what a seminary is. And then after that, he will proceed to talk of the formation timetable of the seminary. In explaining what the seminary is, he will strike a difference between the seminary and other Catholic schools and what makes us exceptional from them. Thank you.
As you have the programs, the things that we are going to say here are going to be very, very short and brief and straight to the point, so that in future or any point in time, your ideas or what you take in, there will be no form of subrogation at all. It's just for you to know exactly what we mean. Now, seminary, of course, we've been hearing. In the past, seminary used to be peculiar, sort of, to Catholic Church alone. But now, so many denominations, so many groups have seminaries. One can say, in a nutshell, that seminary remains a place that preachers are prepared. And when you come to Catholic seminary, it is very, very easy and simple, where future Reverend Fathers are trained. That's why most of you who have not Catholic background, when you came, after interviewing your children at the point I sent for you, and I asked you, who introduced this school to you? Because we are not popular. Yes. We don't advertise, we don't go to radio, except there is a particular program that we carry out, and that will prompt us to be on television or radio. But that we go out advertising like other schools, Top Faith, Noble, and others, no. Not even other Catholic secondary schools, because of course we know some Catholic secondary schools advertise. But sincerely speaking, advertisement of schools has never been in the culture or tradition of the Catholic Church. Because what we feel is that the children that we produce should be the ones to tell others about us, and not we going out to advertise. By the time you produce somebody and he goes out, you see a particular child, and then you see the way that child behaves. You ask that child, where are you? And he tells you, I am in so-so-so school. That will prompt you to think of taking your child or your children there. So the seminary is meant to prepare people who are to be trained as future Catholic priests. But the church also knows, especially today, that schools, public schools, have become something else. The church opens her arms as she believes that a good citizen, a responsible citizen, somebody who can bring the society together and remain a source of happiness and joy to the society, is also a good priest. And that's why even myself, I passed through here. And my classmates, I have some of them engineers, I have some of them doctors, I have some of them lawyers, and some of us are priests. And when we come together, we put our ideas together. In whatever capacity that person serves, provided that person is God-fearing, very, very important, provided that person is God-fearing, because when you are God-fearing, there are certain things you would do, and there are certain things you would not do. And above all, you always be mindful of your fellow human being. So when we come together, we form a group, we'll sit down and plan, and it's always very, very good. So that's exactly what the seminary stands for. In spite of the fact that we accept children who come in here, along the line, those who never planned becoming priests may become priests. And some who even came here with the original idea of becoming priests, some of them, along the way they say, oh, I want to be this. No problem. Provided you are God-fearing, you are responsible, and you are useful to the society. Of course, if you are God-fearing, responsible, and useful to the society, you are supposed to be very, very useful to your family. But then, as a seminary, the training here, we do not in any way lay down on it. The fact that people come from other denominations, or people who do not come with the original idea of being priests, we do not water down the training style. In the seminary here, the training is a bit hard. Yes, the training here is a bit hard. Not that we are punishing them like in the command schools, no. But the very fact that a child who comes in here is not given allowance because he used to wake up. Some of you, when you train them, you make them wake up. As they wake up, they stay small, and then you take them to bathroom straight, just to go and wash them and give them food to go to school. And sometimes you make them wake up at 6 a.m., having their bath within a few minutes, and then having their breakfast or your lunch or their lunch pack. You take them to school. But here a child will wake up 4:45 in the morning. And of course, you know your children already when they normally wake up and how difficult. Whether it is Hamatan or rainy season or hot weather, that's the time for us to wake up. And when we wake up, we begin the day's program as we go on. This will be enumerated for you to know. So those are the things. Of course, the identity of any Catholic seminary, level of noise is highly reduced. Yes. There are some times that you come in here, when you park your cars, it's quite close to the classroom, and you will not hear students' noise. You won't hear. But when you stand there, you will hear the noise. This is St. Brian Catholic School. You will hear the noise there. It's not their fault. That's Catholic Secondary School, and this is Catholic Seminary. We have few other restrictions, and those things make them to be molded properly. And of course, not just that we don't make noise anyhow, there are sometimes we don't make noise, we don't talk at all, except out of strict necessity. When you finish your night prayer at night, in fact from 6 p.m., the noise goes down. After night prayer, you don't talk at all till after breakfast the following day. I remember a parent who came in here when the child came in here newly, and as we left the chapel in the morning, nobody greeted her. So when she saw me, came to my office, and is that she came as the children left the chapel. They will not greet me, they will not greet you. That's time for solemn silence. And they start talking after breakfast. So those things are going to be very, very strange to them. It may make them look somehow, but those are meant to build them and make them good students and then have their self-control. So that's the seminary for you. The essence is to train priests, but then in a situation that we have people who come in here, we must train them like as if we are training priests, and the rules must be upheld. I think that has also taken care of the difference between the seminary and other Catholic schools. Here in the seminary, anybody that comes here, very, very important, is called a seminarian. And I think it is only in Catholic Church that we have we use seminarian after those who are in the seminary. We hardly hear it elsewhere. I don't know whether there is, you can excuse my ignorance. Now I think it is only in Catholic Church that we use that name seminarian very well. Other may use it, I'm not aware. I stand to be corrected. And when they come in, those who go to Catholic school, the Catholic Church, the administration of the school is not interested. They go there, they train them. Though while they are in school, they attend masses and other spiritual exercises, and when they go home, they can go to their various churches. But in the seminary here, when they come, that's where the big difference lies too. They become Catholics in the seminary. Those who are not baptized, when time comes, will be baptized. And when they go home, we follow up. They follow up from the parents at home, and they follow up from the parish priest. That's why I gave you paper to go and give the nearest Catholic priest to your community, so that the priest knows that at least there is somebody he will be looking after and will be giving recommendation at the end of long vacation. We also introduce that parents, you will monitor your children at home and give us sincere evaluation of them. You cannot give us any information and we use it against your child. No, we don't operate that way. If you tell us that your child is used to steal, when he comes back here, we draw his attention. This is what your parents say about you. But we cannot use that against that child. Except when he comes here, even if he comes here to steal, we mind the way we handle him. Unless he has gone to a point of incorrigibility, such that everything that has been done for him is not corrected. And when he goes through, sometimes the disciplinary committee, and then we investigate. Just for the very fact that we do not want such a child to corrupt other children, to influence other children, and be seen as if we are running on double standard. We call the parents and then sit down and have some words with him. That's the difference between Catholic seminary and Catholic secondary school. And of course, when a child studies here, he may not be more intelligent than children studying elsewhere. Yes. But if you put him side by side with a child in another school, he may be more mature and more responsible. He may be more mature and more responsible. Put him side by side. If you have two children in your house, you have one of them in the seminary, and then the other one in another secondary school. There is that likelihood that you will entrust more responsibility with the one who studies in the seminary than the one who studies elsewhere. There are sometimes those who are remaining corrigible here and are not doing what they are supposed to do, and even when they go out, those ones are extreme cases. They end up being a disappointment. We have few of those cases. But an average child here, after finishing here, will be appreciated more by the parents than the one who may study elsewhere, including Uyo High School, or Christian, or Fort Towns, or wherever, because of the nature of confirmation given to him and the self-control that will be instilled in him. So that's the big difference. And of course, when somebody has that maturity, self-control, a good sense of responsibility, that means he himself can manage himself wherever he finds himself and can take challenges. I don't think there is much better a parent or parents will look for in a child than those. So that's exactly what the seminary will do for such children if the child studies here. And then, number 2, seminary formative timetable. I tried mentioning it. Some parents, some people say, oh, a child coming from home will be given opportunity to move gradually. There is no need. I don't know how we will divide those who are meant to be trained and move gradually on one side and have their timetable and regulator for them, and then have another children that we want to move at the speed the seminary wants, one side, and have another timetable for them. Sometimes the only thing that we do when we come to academics and then realize those that are poor in certain subjects, or sometimes who cannot make it at all, like reading well, we try to get teachers with the collaboration of the parents, such that when it is time for studies, because such children cannot study on their own. 1 or 2 teachers, depending, may be by such students, and then assist them in their studies, so that after a while they will be independent and can study on their own. But outside that, we have the same timetable for everybody. I tried mentioning that when we wake up about 4:45 in the morning, about 5:30, everybody, the morning prayer starts in the chapel. That means by 5:20, everybody should be in the chapel. When we go there, especially the new ones, you still find some sleeping, but you cannot help them. They continue to sleep. They will get used to it. Some of them will still be sleeping. And then after morning prayer, we have our mass at 6 a.m., morning mass. And after the morning mass, we come out. Everybody must have his morning function to do. Everybody has his place of morning function. That's why in your prospectus you have brooms there. In case you ask, what do children do with brooms in this age? We sweep. Yes, they must, all of them must have their places to sweep in the morning. After sweeping, we go in for breakfast. After breakfast, we march down and have our classes for the day after a short morning devotion. After classes about 1:40, we have a short prayer, midday prayer. Move straight to the dining. When we finish in the dining, siesta is compulsory for everybody, as every other exercise is for everybody. Siesta. All these exercises I have mentioned, no one of them is optional for anybody. No one of them is optional. Even during meal is not optional. If you don't want to eat what is presented, go and stay in the dining that period. That others are there. Stay with them. And after meal, they move to the dormitories and take a rest for about 1 hour. And during that time, you must be on your bed. You are not supposed to be seen outside. Though some of them still run out, I want to go to the toilet, I want to eat myself. You cannot stop because you do not have instruments to check whether they are actually going to the toilet or not. So you are allowed. But outside that, you must rest. At that particular time, some do sleep. And of course, if a child sleeps for 45 minutes, 1 hour, it's up serious and good health to such a child. And after their rest, we return to classroom for prep, where the bell says everybody must be or go. That's where everybody is expected to be. It's very, very important. So that's our timetable. And of course, every exercise in the seminary has its own significance. Nothing is done for a mere formality. No. Of course you know. Beginning with the prayers in the morning, everything has its own significance. Something that people will still see odd and outdated, especially today, is compound work. Like I did mention, people don't see why. Most secondary schools, they are not allowed to sweep. In fact, washing of their clothes, they are not allowed. I know of about 2 or 3 schools, a particular day of the week, the matron or the porter or whosoever goes by the door and picks the clothes of the children to go and wash and return, except their undies. Wash and return. Their bed leaves. Sorry, I don't think those children are given proper training by soldiering, no matter what you have, no matter how wealthy you are. They are not allowed to sweep. They have those who take care of their dormitories, hostels. No, we sweep them here. Our children sweep those dormitories here. Of course, they are not allowed to cut grass. They have laborers. But they have to cut according to their ability. We have grass cutting machines here. Not long ago, I bought 2 of them. But that would not stop the student according to their ability. Those who are very small will be raking what others are cutting, and those who are big and can cut are meant to cut. Everything has its own significance. Of course, work itself is own spiritual edification. So whether you say they are related or not, those things still remain. And when they finish eating, they wash their plates. They don't drop their plates for somebody to go and pick and wash. Of course, we know schools that when you finish eating, you just leave the plate on the table. You go away, and stewards and others go and pack the place and wash. And then, when next meal comes, they set the table for you. You pick your place after eating, you wash your plate, go and keep it. So those are the things that still will make us a bit different from others. And we know the importance and significance of this. Of course, some of you have gone outside this country. Unless you go to a hotel to eat, that when you finish eating, you leave everything and then they are packed. If you hire a small accommodation to stay on your own, I don't know anybody who was able to hire house help in America or in Europe. You do everything by yourself. And if a child is prepared that way, I think whenever he goes, he can actually fit in. So that's the activities we put up. Everything we have here will help our students when they live here, wherever they go to, they would be able to cope and not finding any environment so hard on them. No matter how challenging, they are able to face it. Those are the reason why we uphold this form of training today, no matter the situation, so that they can fit in wherever they are.
Thank you very much, Father. That has been very educative, and we won't want to waste much time because we still have more to talk about. So I will invite the Vice Chairman of the Seminary PTA to please introduce the PTA and welcome you to the Seminary PTA.
And so I welcome, my co-parents. My name is Amen, and it's a pride that we're here. I am a very critical person. I'm very objective. And if this school wasn't worth my trouble, I would have taken my son out since. And I have seen the difference. I have seen the humility, the commitment. And I've also seen that the school has not allowed him to be soaked, in the noise we have currently, the crisis of the social crisis we have amongst our young people. And that's a plus. Because if as parents, we need to drive the change, it's got to start from where we put them. And as parents, we have to support the school. And that's why the PTA of this school is very strong. And oftentimes, it's like a family relationship, where if there are issues, it's so very okay for you to discuss your issues And essentially the essence of the PTA is to see how together we can build the school, not just for the school, but for the society. Eventually, we all belong in different societies. We come from different communities. And today this country is on the verge of crisis, social crisis, largely by the kind of youth we build, largely by the kind of families we build, largely by the kind of children that people are raising. But if we set the standard through schools like the seminary especially, because I know about this, if one child sets a standard in a family, that family would also begin to set the template for a good society. And that's why this PTA is very essential. Our role as members of the PTA is to give ideas where necessary to the school, is to build the school, support, nurture the school. If there are needs, sometimes I see something and I say, Father Rector, I'm thinking that this is what we should do. And he says, okay, let's see how that goes. Let's discuss with the PTA. So it's a free school where parents are free to interact. And of course, if there's any need that you think you can fulfill, we volunteer. I'm thinking that going forward, if we have people who have skills and they think they can volunteer for children, why not? Because if we continue to show them or start to show them that as parents we lead, as parents we add value to the schools that they are, when they also grow, they would learn to add value to anywhere that they are. And I would also like that, should there be anything, we should be proactive. Proactive in the sense that I came here this morning and we're trying to, the school is trying to build this hall, and I saw that there was something we needed to do fast to ensure that we have some safety nets here. I said, okay, let's walk, put some red thing there and all that. It's part of volunteering because this is our home. As long as our children are here, we've got to see whatever way we can do to build the school, support the school, even if in terms of, I don't care, donations. Sometimes it is necessary because in today's world, the school's parents are contributing in any small way to the growth and the development of their children's schools and the society. So I will not speak too much. The essence is to welcome you all. I saw my children. I think I've met some friends here who are coming in here, and some of them already, I can attest that they already have the seminary attitude by their posturing. And it means that clearly back home that some work has been done, which means that if we already have one or some whose formation is standard, it means that when they come here, like Father Rector said, they will be used to discipline. I attended a Catholic school and it hasn't left me. It hasn't left me. And when we train them well, when we support the school to train them well, we are going to be the ultimate beneficiaries. And I think this will be for the common good of our society. In a time where the world is sinking, our children can raise the banner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Vice Chairman of the PTA, Mrs. Emem Karawem. And we are moving to the next section on the program. If you can observe, we are done with introductions. We are done with the opening formalities. We are moving into needs. Needs are defined as those basic things that must be put in place. You would have as well say wants. It's not want, it's not what we feel it should be. And there are those basic things that must be provided. The one we must provide as an institution, the one you must provide as parents. We have the ones the government must provide as government, if they've been able to do it. We have the ones the church must provide as church. So we are going to look at the ones we have to provide as an institution and the ones we have to provide as parents. So I have the privilege of inviting the Dean of Studies, Mr. Mike Limovera, to take X-ray of the child's academic needs stroke attention. The child's academic needs stroke attention, and also take X-ray of the seminary academic formative style. That is, how do we teach and learn in the seminary? You need to know this, and then we see the roles you have to play. The Dean of Studies, please.
First of all, I want to congratulate you. Your child has doing admission in this seminary. And why congratulating you? I want to tell you I'll be here by November. I'll be 27 years in this compound. My son is in SS2 in this particular school, and I'm not tired yet. The seminary is an international school. I do tell my students that. So if your child is privileged to be here, just know that your child is attending our international school. As I go down, you will come to see it and realize that. So we need to do our best to keep them here. First and foremost, I want to say I'm going to talk about the two. But the second one, I'm going to start from that because that formed the foundation for the first one. That is seminary academic formative style form the foundation for the child's academic needs and attention. I want to equally start by saying that I know you are studying a big paper, but I'm very brief. I want to start from the quote from St. Pope John Paul II. In his introduction to the Apostolic Exhortation Pastoris Dabo Vobis, he maintains that without priests, the church will not be able to live out the fundamental obedience, which is at the heart of her existence and her mission in the world. This fundamental obedience is evangelical. That is, go and make disciples of all nations. Matthew 28, verse 19. Secondly, do this in remembrance of me. Luke 22, verse 10. The church recognizes the fact that many are called, but what? Few are chosen. Matthew 22, verse 14. Therefore, not all seminarians can become what? Priests. But if all don't end up becoming priests, let them become better people for the good of the troubled world. Now, before going deeply into the history, I want to join my rector to tell you that the seminary, the minor seminary, stand on a tripodal formation, 3 legs. 1, human formation, spiritual formation, and intellectual formation. With the outline, what the rectors have outlined in our programs, you can now pick out which is human formation from that exercise, which is spiritual formation, and which is what? Academic, which is what? Intellectual what? Formation. Chapel has made mention of that. Maybe 3 times a day, or not less than 3 times a day, they go to the chapel for their spiritual. They are talking about games, food, and all that. Then I'm going to dwell on the intellectual, or what we call academic formation, because that is my area as the Dean of Studies. Our seminary, Cardinal Ekandem Seminary, we try as much as possible to balance our students on this tripodal formation, on these 3 legs. Imagine this chair standing on 3 legs. It will not be balanced. It will be what? We try as much to do that so that they will not what? Crash land. And how do we do that? I want to tell you that, first and foremost, in the seminary, the sound of the bell is the voice of God. Let them know that. Say that. Why am I saying that? When they ring the bell for a particular function, for a particular task, all the students are expected to be at that point, which means that our students perform almost the same task at the same time. Meaning, by doing that, the more advanced one can as well what? Assist the ones that are what? Upcoming. That is the beauty of the seminary. Now let's look at academic formative style. In this seminary, we have a beautiful program. Every year, like we are starting this year, an academic program has already been drawn out. First term, second term, and third term. Now let's begin with our first term. The program is also drawn out, which means for this term, your word is expected to pass through these academic programs. It's going to take 3 tests. First test, second test, and third test, which forms at least 30% of the award, the term academic award. Exam is just what? 70% in this seminary. Now, when we do that, at the end of all the tests, the academic board, as well as in conjunction with the counseling department, like Father have said, we may notice the weak ones. With that, we can now, like the rector said, look for a way to help those students that are what? Weak. For them to achieve a better result. In seminary here, each day we have 8 periods of 40 minutes each. 4 periods before break, and after break they come back for another 4 periods. And after that, we go to chapel. That is in what he has outlined. Then which they come back during prep, like he has said, afternoon and also night prep. And all these actions are controlled by what? The bell. Because the bell in the seminary is the voice of God. So please help us to tell them as they are coming in, they should what? Obey the voice of what? God, which is the bell. Because that is the driving force. That is what we tell them what to do at a particular time. Because in the seminary, we are not used to using cane. No, we don't do that. We use the bell to direct the children. Finally, this academic continuing assessment 1, 2, 3 with their exams, we now form the accumulative assessment, which we normally submit to external bodies, examination bodies. Like BESE, those are children from JS3. So let them know that the journey to getting a better result in JS3 or BESE, as the case may be, begins from the first term as they are coming in now. Because at the end, I expect to submit first year, submit second year, submit third year. Third year, we submit. That's 10 by 10 by 10 by 10. Similarly, when you get to senior, right now, SS2, you are bound to download their continuous assessment in SS2 to WAEC. Now, that's what is obtained now. Before, you used to do it when they are in SS3. But now, once they are in SS2, you are you have to download. We have already done for our SS2, going to SS3. So, now, finally, under that formative style, in our examinations, malpractice is not, we don't even want to hear it. Whether internal examinations or external examination. In fact, the rector will tell you the penalties. This is our examination hall. We use here to do our exams. We arrange them. You can never find students of one class sitting together. I'm just trying to tell you, so we are going to tell them that. JS1, SS3, JS2, just like that. That is how they sit around here. So JS1 can be here, another JS1 down there. That is the nature of our exam here. So if your child is able to pass through these processes, I think at the end of the day, you'll be a better person. As for the teachers, like I told you, I'll be here for 27 years, we have good, qualified, and experienced teacher. Of course, you know what the Catholic Church stands for. If here is a formative ground for our future priests, of course, Catholic Church will not want to turn out priests that don't have something upstairs. So that is, you should know that that is the reason we don't joke with what we are doing here in the seminary. The weak ones, we always see how to help them. Now, syllabus, curriculum, and schemes, it's not different from other schools. We use approved federal government and state scheme of work and curriculum. So don't be afraid that we are seminary, your child will not know. For academic competitions, because of our types of program, we have been going out for competitions in other states with our sister seminary because we run almost the same program, both in sports as well as quiz, debate, and other. If not for COVID-19, this year would have been our debate, quiz and debate competition year for all the seminaries in 3 states, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, and Rivers. And to God be the glory, we have not failed ourselves. Let me quickly jump to the needs of child's academic needs and attention. I'm going to talk about in 2 words. There are 2 of them. We have parent-related and school-related. The one I call school-related are those needs that school must provide. I use the word must provide for your children to excel academically. And by the grace of God, we are doing just that. That includes good teachers, good, at least, head personnel, because it is a sound body that can take in, that can absorb. Then, at least our rector is a priest. So anywhere you see a priest, you have to really behave. So we have a good administrator. And again, finally, we have structures. In fact, our structures, our classroom are, what I can say, underutilized. Because it's a seminary. Not too many in a class, 25, 30 for good class management. We have a functional library. Our lab can stand for the lab of a university. He built it and he equipped it when he came in newly. You can go and see. I'm the chemistry teacher. So I can tell you that your words are in a good hands. For us as school, we try our best to provide all that is required from the seminary. Just let them what? Obey the voice of what? God. Time for class, let them be there. Prep and order. Then the parents-related needs. Why am I going to talk about it? Because this sometimes, or most times, affect their academic performance. Number 1, prompt payment of school fees. Prompt payment of school fees. Please, because it's affecting my department. Sometimes I want to schedule tests, I'll be running up and down. When I run to rector, because sometimes he will be stranded. Especially when he has no money to feed your child. But what do you want us to do at that instance? You find out with the handicap. Please, try as much as possible. Schedule the payment of your child's school fees. Schedule it. So that your child don't have to go for what? Feed drive. If your ward is out for feed drive and the lecture is going on, what do you think will happen to that child when he comes back after 2 or 3 weeks or a week? So that is one of the basic needs you must provide. It's a need, very, very important. Please. Secondly, Books. Try as much as possible to provide books. Recommended textbooks. I think the economic department, the books have been given to them. Please try to the basic books, especially English language and mathematics. Very, very important because they need to do exercises, they need to read. Please. And writing materials. Above all, we need no distractions. We need no. Say need. We don't need distraction from parents. Give you an example. A parent will just come to the rector. My brother's friend's somebody is going to do wedding on a so day, and my son will be taking part as this groomsman or what, or groomsboy. Sometimes I look at that. It is distracting. We are going to distract that child with that. By the time the child comes back, for him to cope, it will take a long time. But this is a seminary. But sometimes when we say no, we don't agree, he will just take offense. Sometimes I laugh over it because I've seen that many times in this company. Unnecessary trying to find out about your child. Though rector, the management have said no teacher should pass out, make calls to parents. It's not allowed. Except the school had a fund. On head ground, we meet the rector. If it's something we can't handle. But thank God, in most cases, God has been on our side. Calling in to know, yes, you may know me, I know so many faces here already. Yes, when you ask me about your child, I can tell you he's doing good. If there's a problem, I tell you, I say, don't come. If you cannot handle it, we'll call you. So those distractions, they don't help us at all, especially when we are in business of academics. It distracts a lot. Because it has to do with spirituality, please also provide the necessary religious materials. Like Father have just said, recommendation. If the school system said, provide recommendation for your work, do that. Because if you don't do it, by the time they start asking for that recommendation, and your child is not with his own, what would happen? They will ask to go and bring it. That will distract the academic program of that child. Please, by God's grace, I think we will try as much as possible to leave the rest discussion to us alone and your children. And I believe, by God's grace, when they come in here fully, God will help us and also help you for both sides, the school and the parents, to collaborate for the proper upbringing of your child. At least, if your child cannot become priest, he'll be what? A good citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
I'll pass around the attendance sheets. Write your name and your WhatsApp number. After this meeting, will be added to the PTA WhatsApp group for the speedy relay of information. Not every time that we might have the need to send a text message, and there are some messages that are very large ones. So we prefer to drop it on WhatsApp because it's simpler to do so. So write your name and your WhatsApp number as I pass around the attendance. Okay, underneath there are two remaining. We have X-ray of the child's psychological needs, which I will take that, and the physical, psychological, and emotional changes and challenges to expect as the child goes from child to adolescent. And then one item was omitted, the health. The school nurse would evaluate the child's health needs, because now things are happening that we don't understand. Seriously. Tablets don't respond to malaria any longer. We are seeing things, this weather has given us things we can't explain scientifically. So we pay serious attention to the health needs of the child. And as the Dean of Studies has mentioned, when the child is sick, learning will be impossible. So the entire enterprise of this facility will be tread. Okay, let me talk of the psychological needs. There are very many. I'm going to look at just 5 of them very briefly. There are 5 of them that will affect my students. All this thing about learning, about classroom thing, they are I don't like jumping the gun. There are things that must be put in place before the learning can take place. Like I said earlier, it's like planting. You don't just step into the bush to start planting. You first go there, you clear the bush. You till the soil, manure, other things. You even calculate weather and planting season before you plant. Or else you simply drop that thing. If you drop a piece of yam in a bush and say you are planting, animals will come, just dig it out and start eating it. And it will never germinate. So that is why this psychological need is very important. Please, let's give great attention. Number one, first note that psychological instability, nothing can be achieved. Note that very well. In psychological instability, for example, if someone is afraid, he cannot do anything. Everything he does is to focus on the fear and how to fight the fear. Learning will be impossible. The rector will talk on capital offenses. That is why we don't tolerate bullying at the slightest instant. Because a bullied child, whether bullied physically or bullied with words, can never function well in class. He won't. The things we were born to see, that when you enter a school system, that child must be flogged. Flogging is part of learning. It's part of the school. These were cultures that left us with nothing. And we've completely stamped it out in our system. We are critical about it. So the psychological stability of the child is very necessary for proper learning. The first one is trust. The first one is what? Trust. Please build that trust between you and your child. Let your child trust you by the way you relate with him. Very important. When that is done, the child would have the ability, the confidence to relate certain secrets to you. Things that he cannot say outside, he will relate them with you. And during intelligence sharing, if the things related you are afraid is likely to affect him or assist him, you relate it with the management under intelligence sharing. There is a school that we had an incident where the child went back home and then told the father that the things he watched on phone innocently, they were just gisting with the father. Said, "Daddy, come. I was with my classmates the other day. Brought her food and we watched things." That's the father said, "What did you watch?" He started narrating everything that happened in the porn movie he watched. And immediately the father got a call and then called me as a counselor and said, "There is a classmate of yours, an ex-student of yours that showed my son a pornography." And immediately I reported to the rector. The matter was investigated extensively. That is intelligence sharing. Supposing that child did not trust the father, he will stomach that thing and grow with it. Comes to the classroom, those things he stomached in the classroom, he will start replaying, when classes are going on. Whatever drama the teacher is doing is for himself. The child is absent because he's unstable. Trust is very important. I'm just looking at the aspects that concerns us, not the overall aspects. Another one is attention. How do you give your child attention? There are some parents that are not living with their children. But then, once in a while, they call, or the child calls and asks for this. Or the father looks at the timetable, "Oh, today is my child's visiting day." Or maybe he's closing. "Mommy has always been going to pick the child from school. Let me also go today." And then give that listening ear. That's what we call attention. In our own system, we have visiting days. Do you plan to come to your child's visiting day? Don't joke with it, please. I beg you. The Monday after visiting day is a disaster. The whole of that week. And it's always so terrible when the next week is a test week. And that visiting day, the mother wasn't there, the father wasn't there. And when they get back to the hostel, all of them are sleeping in one hostel. You walk around and see what you are doing. This other child will bring her, "See what my daddy bought for me. See what my daddy bought for me." And then yours will recoil at one corner of the bed. "Daddy bought nothing for me." That alone destabilizes that child completely. He comes to the church and his class in the morning. The gist will continue. These are my students that we play around with. The gist will last for 2 weeks. Gist of visiting. Pending another visiting the art. It's not always easy. But yours will have no story to tell. What is the disadvantage? Lost self-esteem. But the time will come when they will talk. And they will like, man's father, he doesn't used to come. That's how they speak. He doesn't used to come. They are visiting me. That will affect his academic growth. I won't take time. There are more things. And then, confidence. Build confidence in your child. How do you build confidence in your child? Number one, and I just want to be very clear, don't back. Don't shout at that child. If he has done any mistake, call him and say, this thing is wrong. It's wrong. But when you start, hey, don't come here, this thing can't be. When you explode, it shrinks the child in. And I dare to say, if you are incubating an abusive relationship, I always say, even whether it is different from the mind of the church, to distance from that relationship. In a relationship where the wife stocks words, and then the husband comes and he gives him out one after the other. Maybe he came back after, maybe late at night, start, you this drunkard, womanizer. Those words that your children don't learn by listening. I forgot to say that. They learn by imitation. Those words record whether they know the meaning or not. They will be quarreling in the class. Bring my pen, give me the pen, look at you, womanizer. As a counselor, I will pick that word. What is womanizing in an 11-year-old? What is womanizing in a 9-year-old? It means that child got that lexicon somewhere. And it can only be one way, from the home. So even if you want to fight, just leave. When they are back here, you don't lock yourself inside and fight. Since you feel like fighting. But do not exhibit that violence or something that shocks that child back to his shell. That is why I am always very sensitive to any relationship where respect is not the foundation of that relationship. It is a disastrous one because so many things will come in. So many things will come into the relationship. There has to be respect even before the idea of marriage is conceived. Please note that very, very well. And do not call names, no abusive words. When we talk of bullying, you understand bullying as physical fight. We have physical fight bullying. We have linguistic bullying. Bullying with words. Calling names, name calling. The name calling reduces the personality and the esteem of that child. And it affects learning also. Then reward system. Your child comes back, he has passed. He did not score, he's not an A student, but he has managed to score 50 average. And the rector's comments are professionally done. The rector says, you need to give more thought to your studies. Good results. The rector will not say, this is a very poor result, you cannot read, you have to withdraw from our facility. The seminary is fail and go. The rector doesn't use such words. He will say, fine, good result, but you have to study hard. You've seen is 50. That is pass, average. Buy certain things he loves and say you scored 50 in average this term. Next time if you score 60, we give you more and celebrate that child. Then together we can sit down and see why his own was 50. And we work out professional modalities to not to make it 50 any longer in the next assessment. Not to bully the child. And look at you, your mates are making A's, your mates are the ones representing the school. You common English, you cannot speak. That damage that you have created, it will take us time to correct it. Please. Very important. And exposure. There is an environment meant for children. There are environments not meant for children. There are songs meant for children. There are ones, I'm not talking of cartoon. There are ones, even if the normal actors, the big actors are acting movie, they can rate, this movie is rated 12. Not just a pornography movie. It could be a normal movie, but the use of words in the movie, the actions, the scenes. In guidance and counseling, we are advised that before a movie is recommended in the school system, the counselor must watch it from the beginning to the end and analyze both the impact of the movie as at present and what it will cause in the future. If you cannot do that, that movie should be suspended in the school system. So what do you expose your children to? You are gisting with your wife. Your children should be doing something else now. They should leave. Or just suspend the gist and hold the gist somewhere when they are not available. But you use these words and they're there. They are listening, they grab them. And they are exposed to content that scandalizes them. It becomes a serious issue when they come to school. They exhibit that, they use it in class, and there's this phrase that we use when we're growing up. Idiom Pomautan. It is the bad ones that you have used before them that they will grab very fast and use it often. Those are what and then under indecent exposure, mind the friends that they keep. If, for instance, your son uses phone at home, insist that that phone should not have a password. It should be a law. In this house, there is no password. If you have an adolescent, use the phone like that. What is the problem with password? Keep it there. If you are afraid that your friends may pick the phone and see your neighbors come around, okay, let's use a password that we all know, so that you can pick that device when he is not prepared. The other technique we used to use is monitored network. But now that SIMs are everywhere, monitored network is the one you share network to your son's phone, so that whatever he does, you can see. Mindful of the friends he keeps. You as the father, you have the right to tell him, no, this other friend, we don't need it in the house. It stops there. Because peer pressure is very, very strong and sensitive. Most of the things girls do, they fix eyelashes, not because they love their eyelashes in the secondary school. A newborn fix hers, so I should also fix mine. Not because, even drunkenness, we learn to drink because our friends are drinking. We learn to smoke because our friends are smoking. So if you play about with his peer culture, then it's going to be a serious disaster. I switch over because we don't have time, and then go to number 4, the physical, psychological, emotional, whatever. Now, what are the changes you should expect? You see, we have developmental stage 1 to 3, you call it infancy. We had early childhood. Your children now, you seated here, we did their admission process. All of them are in their late childhood. They are beginning adolescent by next year. Why we does in the seminary? They begin adolescent. What are those things you should expect? Number 1, there will be an established focus. You start having focus and desires. Focus and desires. It is the parent's responsibility to edit what constitutes focus. I want to make my hair. You're making hair every Saturday. The parent goes, no. Use the normal hair that doesn't count. That shouldn't be your focus. You said you want to be a medical doctor. So why don't you choose focus that is related to medicine? You say you want to be a teacher. Why don't you choose focus that is related to it? Not you want to study music. Choose focus that is related to it. Not I want to be this and you choose another focus. You are dancing towards failure. Note that very well, please. And then we have a sense of pride. Those things that your child careless about, at adolescence you will not careless about them again. He would want to be secure. He would want some kind of privacy. In counseling, we talk of merging boundaries. As his quest for privacy increases, create avenue that he does not feel so secure in the privacy. Hence, other things will come. 1, redundancy, laziness, masturbation will set in. Because of that inclusion. Remember, the 3rd feature is that at that age, we call it age of exploration. Everything, he asked questions about everything. Why are my ears like this? Why are my breasts grown? Why am I having hairs here? Those questions and inquisition is caused by hormonal changes in the system. You have to be observant and ensure that it does not slip down into that level. If it does, it will become a problem. Okay. Sexual identity. Until now, they never knew they were male. They just saw themselves as human beings. At the age of 15, a girl child will know she's a girl. I'm a babe. A guy will know I'm a guy. So guys do this, babes do this. That sense of sexual identity will come. It comes with damages, if not monitored and controlled by the parents. And most of the mistakes we make in life, we plant and incubate that mistake at adolescence. And as we grow, if we grow with the mistakes grow with us. So what started as indecent exposure moves over to masturbation, moves over to rape, moves over to something you can't imagine. It grows. That's how it happens, if not checked at the adolescent and controlled. And then impulsive behavior and quest to belong. I'll stop there. Impulsive behavior and quest to belong. Brashness. How did you say that to me? That unnecessary brashness will come. And then quest to have his own rules. I want to wake up at this time, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. So that is those things you have to wash out against. And then how do you control it? Exercise, communication, talk to your child. Keep communication channels open, always. Nothing should block it, not anger. I am sad for what you do, so no, come, I'm not talking to you again. I'm not your friend again. If he recalls and feels comfortable in that, no problem. So communication channels always open and encourage creativity. It burns out the adrenaline that should be used for something else. Encourage creativity among them, handwork and other things. With that, you can be able to check those processes. So we have to manage our time. I'd love to invite the resident nurse to look at the health needs of the child as they are coming in. Those things we'll have to ensure as they are coming in.